Dear students, in this session we will be studying the topic data handling. As we all know that we are living in this world which is full of information, where we need to collect the information, record the data, record the information, and then draw the conclusions from it. It is also important that we represent the data in a proper manner and draw correct inferences from them. And whenever we collect the information, we need to know the purpose for which the information is being collected. So we start with the topic. The data are characteristics or information, usually numerical, that are collected through observation. The collection, recording and presentation of data help us to organize our experiences and draw inferences from them. Before we collect the data, we need to know what we would use it for, the purpose for which the information, the data is being collected. We need to know, and then only the data will serve its purpose. Otherwise, it may not be able to fulfill the purpose for which the data is collected. Okay. Now, we have, suppose you want to collect the information regarding the height and weight of the students of your class. What we do? We generally take a weighing machine and an inch tape or something like that, and with the help of that we generally take the weight and the height of the students. If we basically directly do the things on our own, record the information, that is one way. The other way is basically go to the medical room and then collect the information from there regarding the height and weight of the students of your class. So, on the basis of the way the data is being collected, we have the primary data, we have the secondary data. So primary data is the data where we collect the information directly from the source. Else we were taking the weight and the height of the students directly using the equipments on our own. If we collect the information from other sources, say we collect it from the records, we collect it from, say, the internet, from the magazines, then the data which we collect is what we call as the secondary data. Now the next thing is basically organizing the data. After the data has been collected, it is very important that we present the data in a manner where it could be utilized further by other sources also. Now, basically what we try to do is, we try to organize the data first of all in a manner which is easy for us to comprehend, to understand, and to look and to gather the information at a first glance. Suppose we want to collect the information regarding the marks of, say, 15 students of your class. So suppose the marks you out of, say, it is said out of 20, suppose the students got 10, 15, 13, 12, 11, 7, 19, 7, these are the marks which have been obtained by say 15 students of your class. You want to now record this information. Now if you look at these numbers, they will not properly give you the information. So what we try to do is, we as suppose in the schools, the mark slips are being prepared. In the mark slips, what we do? We have the roll number, we have the name of the student, and we have the marks obtained. Isn't it? So what we do is, we write the roll number, say 1, 2, 3 till 15. We write the name of the students. You can have the names of the students over here and the corresponding marks, say 10, 8 and so on. So this 10 has been used, 8 has been used. Like this we can write the marks of the students over here. So this is one of the ways of organizing the data, where at a glance we will get to know what are the marks obtained by the various students of the class. Now, if you are not interested, suppose in the name of the student, but we are more interested in the numerical data, and basically what we are trying to do is how many students got how many marks, and rather than we are focusing on the roll number or the name of the students, and suppose we have got another data where the number of say the goals scored in a match, in a tournament, say of football. So we say the first match has 2 of the goals scored, 1, none, say 4, 2, 1, 3, 1, 0, 1, 0, 2, 3, 0, 1, 3. Now these are the say the number of goals scored. So what are the possible things what we are observing? 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we can have a table being prepared, number of goals scored. Now what we do is, we make the use of tally marks. What are tally marks? So corresponding to every entry over here, what we do is, we make a corresponding mark over here. So that will be tally mark and the number of goals scored and number of matches. Number of matches in which the following number of goals have been scored. So you can have 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 0 you have, we start with here 2. So what we do is we put a corresponding tally mark in front of 2. If it is 1, we will write tally mark 1. If it is 0, we put a tally mark 0. If it is 4, we put a tally mark 4. 2. If it is 1, we put a tally mark 1. If it is 3, 1. If it is 1, if it is 0, if it is 1, if it is 0, this is 2, this is 3, this is 0, then 1. Now we have to notice, if we are moving on to the fifth one, what we do is, we put a tally mark like this, 3 like this. So what we are observing is, when we put a tally mark like this, we get a bunch of 5, and we have to keep in mind that the fifth tally mark should go from the top of the left to the bottom of the right. So the fourth one. So we count, this is 4, this is 5, this is 3, this is 3 and this is 1. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And you can just tally it over here, 9 and 6, 15 and 1, is 16. So we are getting it to be 16 over here. So like this, the data can be organized. And this is basically the tabular form of organizing the data. The number of times an observation is repeated is called as frequency. You can just write over here, telema. Now, once we have organized the data, so what we ought to do is, we ought to represent the whole of the data with the help of a single value. That single value is basically a central value, and this is also a measure of central tendency. So we have got various measures of central tendency. Generally what we will be studying will be the arithmetic mean or the average or the arithmetic mean or simply the mean. Now, the second one will be, which we'll be studying, will be mode and then the median. So these are the three measures of central tendency which we'll be studying. These are the measures of central tendency. Now, to know which of these has to be used when, it is important for what purpose the data has been collected, what information we want to deduce from the data, what exactly we want from the central value, from the measure of central tendency. For example, if we want to know the average number of, say, the runs scored by a batsman, so what we do? We say the total number of runs scored divided by the number of innings or the number of matches in which the batsman is out. Okay? Now, suppose we go to a shop and we want to say know the number of, say, what you can say, the shoe size. Suppose you go to a shop, say shoe store, and you want to know which shoe size the shopkeeper must keep the most. Then the number of times, the maximum number of times a particular shoe size has been sold will be the criteria on the basis of which it will be deciding which shoe size has to be purchased more. So, we start with the first one, the average. Okay? So, the way you define average is basically, so the average is basically sum of all observations divided by the number of observations. So what we do is, we take the sum of all the observations and we divide by the number of observations and we get the average value over there. If you have got, say, x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, say as 5 of the observations, then the mean we generally denote by x bar is basically x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 plus x5 whole divided by the number of observations, that is 5. So the average is basically sum of all the observations divided by the number of observations. And this is in the summation notation. It will be I is equal to 1 to n divided by number of times an observation is repeated. So this is important. Sigma notation is not that much of importance because this is for summation. In the higher classes you will study about it, but this is only for the purpose that you understand that in a compact form this can be written. If I put I is equal to 1, we get x1. Sigma is first plus, so we put the plus sign, then we put I is equal to 2 and so on. Now another thing what you should know from this one only is sum of all observations. The sum of all observations is equal to average or the mean divided by multiplied by the number of observations. So we have sum of all the observations will be equal to the mean multiplied by the number of observations. If you take an example, suppose you have the values 3, 4, 7, 11, 15, 13, 10, 6 and say 4. And say we take another value, say 9. So first of all what we do is, we calculate the sum of observations. Sum of observations is 3 plus 4 plus 7 plus 11 plus 15 plus 13 plus 10 plus 6 plus 4 plus 9. If you add these things, 3 and 4 is 7, 7 and 7 14, 14 and 11 25, plus 15 is 40, plus 13 is 53, then 10 is 63 and 6 69, 69 and 4 73 and 9 is 82. So this is the sum of the observations. Number of observations, if you count, number of observations will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the mean, we write the formula, sum of all the observations divided by number of observations, and then it will be 82 by 10, that is 8.2. So that is how we calculate the mean of the data or the average of the data. The mean, it is important that you understand, always lies between the smallest and the largest value. It cannot go beyond the smallest or the largest value. If you have to calculate the mean of two of the values, say A and B, it is simple that we write A plus B upon 2. That is how we calculate the mean of the two of the observations. The next thing what we are learning is basically range. So what is range? range is equal to highest observation minus the lowest observation. So while calculating the range, what we do is we take the largest of the values of the observations what we have got, the smallest of them, and then we take the difference of these two values to get the range of the data. Suppose we are seeing the number of marks scored in a test. This is say out of 20. Suppose we have 10 of the students and whose scores are written over here. We have to calculate the mean and second the range. So mean will be equal to sum of all the observations, that is 15 plus 17 plus 14 plus 6 plus 7 plus 19 plus 3 plus 11 plus 15 plus 6, and we divide by the number of observations. That will be say here 10. We just simply add 15 plus 17 is 32. 32 plus 14 is 46. 46 plus 6, 52. Plus 7, 59, and 19 is 78, plus 3, 81, plus 11, 92, 92 plus 15 is 107, and 6 is 113, divided by 10. So we get that the average marks is, so we have 113 divided by 10 is equal to 11.3. So 11.3 gives us the mean marks scored by the students in a given test. Now if you have to calculate the range, we have the maximum marks, the highest observation, minus the lowest observation. Highest observation is say 90. The smallest one say is 3. So we have the range as 19 minus 3, that is equal to 60. So this is the way we will be calculating the mean and the range. Okay. Thank you so much.